At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.
A war against diversity, equity, and inclusion, and getting your college career funded in the cities. The FAFSA forms are ready, and the rollout for student financial aid appears to be less chaotic than last year. We'll look at what students and parents must still be prepared to do. That's still ahead. But first, DEI. Over the past decade, we've seen schools, government, and corporate America try to tear down barriers that have left some people out of career paths. But diversity, equity, and inclusion programs have been attacked as quota systems that give some people an unfair advantage. To some, it's a simple argument. Two wrongs don't make a right. Iowa has taken steps to dismantle DEI programs, especially at its 3 public universities. We talked with a DEI specialist, Corey Holloway. You have been involved in DEI initiatives for a number of years.
Yes.
And you've been at the forefront of kind of pushing forward equality in the workplace, and we've talked about equality in education, and throughout society. Are you surprised a little bit about the blowback that's being, that's occurring over the last 2 years?
Yeah, Jim, I'm not surprised by the blowback because we're talking about initiatives addressing systematic change, right? So it's going to come with some resistance. This work is addressing current power structures and traditional norms, which can make some people feel uncomfortable, but it's in that uncomfortableness that there's opportunity of growth. What I'm most surprised about is all the misrepresentation of what this work means. It doesn't mean favoritism. It's not about placing blame. It's saying that there's real barriers that people face, and what can we do to address those to create spaces for everyone to live, thrive within the workplace or within our communities.
One of the biggest arguments, of course, and you've heard it time and again, is that you're overlooking people who may be better qualified for a job or a position in order to meet quotas.
Sure. Yeah, that's one of the big misunderstandings of this work, and that's not the kind of work that I want to do. I don't think work should just be given to someone just because they're from one of the protected classes. What we're seeing is that people are being looked over who are qualified, people who do have the ability to do jobs above and beyond what's being asked of them to be able to go and do, and they're not getting those opportunities. They're not getting into the rooms where they can make their talent be shown and known to within an organization, even within our community. So it's not about taking something from one group and giving it to another. It's understanding that there's barriers that need to be removed so that way folks can have an equitable shot at different opportunities that are available out there.
You're seeing in the state of Iowa in particular a dismantling of DEI initiatives, particularly in the public schools and the colleges. What kind of impact do you think that is having?
Yeah, so the Iowa has some of these committees that are looking to align workforce development with curriculum, which that could be promising. But if we're leaving out DEI in the process, we are leaving out our underrepresented groups, right? And they are part of the equation. They're not a separate piece. They're tied directly to workforce. So for an example, somebody coming from a low-income community who doesn't have the access to these resources, DEI efforts help bridge those gaps so that they can go on to be a productive citizen in the state of Iowa and contribute to the society as a whole.
Is this something that just the term DEI becomes like this label that's bad, and that you're still going to be able to do, let's say, the same work, but under a different title or just different nomenclature?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. This work isn't new, right? We're calling it DEI now. Before it was the Civil Rights Movement. Before that, we had abolitionists who saw that there's inequities happening in society, and then how do we address that? So to be honest, it's through resiliency and innovation that this work can continue to go on. When we take the opportunity to see how impactful diverse teams are in the workplace, how inclusive environments allow folks to bring them whole selves to work and not feel like they have to put on this facade or something like that for instructors, whatever the case, or for their employers, whatever the case may be, we could see the true change and impact when organizations make it a part of their the fabric of what they do and not just some separate initiatives, because initiatives can go away, but who you are can change positively when we are looking to make lasting change for folks in our communities.
It really has to be a part of the fiber of your business or your
Yeah.
school. And did you notice during your work as a facilitator, have you seen improvements?
Yeah, absolutely. So there has been progress. I would not say that, I couldn't sit up here and tell you that there hasn't been progress. There has been progress. What I'm seeing is just the lack of understanding of what this work is hoping to do for folks in our society. So when I'm facilitating, it's just, there's a lot of curiosity if you're somebody who hasn't been a part of these conversations. And for me, it's providing them a space to then say like, hey, this is a safe space to have a conversation. Let's talk about what stuff actually means, and not just some of the things that get polarized and taken out of context of what it's hoping to accomplish and do. So it's creating spaces to have these conversations to make the changes that we need, not just for the people who are being affected, but for the people who they will work alongside and live alongside.
Let's start from the beginning and define what DEI really means.
Yeah, so DEI it's lumped together, but it's three separate words. There's diversity, which is like the makeup of your people, and then we have equity, which I explained a little bit earlier. So equity is, let's say for example, I have a diesel car and you have a battery car, right? They take their different needs that they need, that those vehicles need to perform and operate at the best of their abilities. If I try to give your car gas, it's not going to work. It's like, hey, it's not going to work as well as the car that needs the gas, right? So, so equity is providing what people need, not taking something away. It's to say, hey, this group of people need X to be able to show off their talents, to be able to show that they can bring great quality work to the working place, be a part of great building teams, stronger teams. And then inclusion is ensuring that the voices are heard, right? So, and when businesses take advantage of that, you are able to capture new markets. You're able to understand how a product could be better used in a different community when someone can speak from that experience of how it can have an impact on them. So there's three separate things, but put together in talks nationally and locally as well too.
I wonder though, sometimes, are you worried that you're preaching to the choir with some of these businesses in particular, that they already are in the mindset of improving the culture of their business?
Yeah.
But there's others that are just resistant to it.
Yeah, so that's a really good question to go to. So there's people who are like, yeah, we get it. I understand diversity piece. Like there's different people who look different to me in our society. The inclusion piece is making sure that they're being heard. Where the struggle comes is that equity piece, I'm a DEI director for SHRM as well too, and their CEO recently came out and had a conversation about how CEOs and key stakeholders are struggling with that equity piece and what that looks like. And from my experience, it's come from lack of understanding of what that equity piece means, and with not being able to understand that, we're seeing like, oh well, we don't want to just quota stuff. We don't just want to give stuff to people who aren't qualified for a position and things of that nature. So it's taking the time to better understand that for them to say, oh, that's what that means. This is how I move and operate that within my organization.
Is it a little disconcerting to you? Because I think the latest large company was Walmart announcing that it was dismantling or turning its back in some ways against its DEI programs.
There's been a lot of progress made, and so we risk losing a lot of that progress that we have made in our society. So the numbers are out there that talk about how important and the impact of a diverse team is to that workspace, how inclusive environments attract top talent to an organization, right? When we walk these initiatives back, it's not just a moral issue, it's a practical one as well, because we know the positive impact that these initiatives can have on a workspace or even within our communities.
Tell me a little bit about QC Narratives, because it's such an important, that you're involved in, it seems to be such an important aspect to this. for young people in this area?
Yeah, QC Narratives is awesome. I got asked to be a part of the board, I think about 2 years ago. And now, if you don't know what QC Narrative is, it's an organization that serves young adults. So that right after high school age to about that 26, 27 age is the community, is that their targeted market. And they have resources that provide life coaching for them, because surprisingly enough or not, Jim, like, you don't always have it figured out right after high school, right? So this program is here to help them with some life coaching, help them, like, what does it take to go from a job to a career. It provides creative opportunities as well too. They have a great spoken word program that they're doing, and the students are involved with setting up these events. And I would encourage you to come down to one of their open mics and hear their stories. QC Narrative provides voices for these young adults right here in the community, and they're doing some awesome things there.
So what are you hoping that it does accomplish? Like I said, I mean, you're planting seeds.
Yeah.
What do you hope grows from it?
What I hope grows from this is that there are people who understand you. There's people who care, and people who genuinely want to see you do well as an individual without wanting something back from you, right? So you need help. How can we assist you so that you can go on and be the productive citizen that you want to be? How can we help you go and be a better whatever it is that you're trying to achieve? So we start, if we can plant the seeds that there's people here to help, not just for a personal gain, but just to help you become whatever it is that you're hoping to accomplish as an individual. So with the right seeds planted and getting the right message, 'cause especially when you're hearing a lot of that negative stuff, just know that there's people there who do care about you as an individual.
And how does somebody get involved?
You can go to qcnarratives.com, and there's events that are coming up. I think we have a fundraiser coming up here soon. And come down to one of our open mics. They happen down at Theo's Java Cafe over in Rock Island. And great work that these young adults, I say students, 'cause I work with students, but great work that these young adults put effort into being able to display their art and hear their voices.
So we've been talking about DEI, a little bit about the past and the current state of it. What do you see for the future? I mean, do you think that, like you said, the work will go on, but perhaps in a different fashion?
Sure. So the work, like I said, the work is never going to go away. As long as you have different people living and working with different backgrounds and lived experiences, there are going to be conflicts that happen, right? But if we find a way to address things civilly, find ways to have understanding, and with my work, I try to get to a place of understanding and empathy and say, Jim, you have a different lived experience than I do, than I have from you. So how do we take our lived experiences in the workplace, work and thrive together? That's never going to change. We're always going. The Quad Cities is a place we have a lot of refugees and immigrants coming to our area. So that's going to bring different experiences that people may not have a familiarity with. So it gives an opportunity to learn from folks, and how their talent and their potential can be a positive thing, not something to be feared.
What do you say to the critics? I mean, and let's be honest, we're going to hear, I think, more of it in the coming year on the Iowa side.
Yeah, to the critics, I would say they see this as this radical thing, but DEI is about equity for opportunities, and resources being available to you no matter what zip code you come from, the color of your skin, or any protected class. That goes for veterans and people with disabilities as well too. Actually go look into the work and not just listen to, echo chambers can be on both sides, right? So like you talked about preaching to the choir earlier. So if you're only hearing people telling you all these negative things, go look at the positive impact that DEI has had within organizations, within communities. If you see stronger teams, better representation, inclusive environments, attracting people to that organization, it's kind of really hard to speak out against those positive impacts that are happening for people who are willing to embrace it.
You're still very optimistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I can just tell that you're excited about the programs that you work on,
Sure.
and you seem optimistic about the future.
Yeah, So if we get to the point where you give up, then then the work has one less person who's willing to do it, right? I never said at any point in this interview that it's going to be easy or is an easy thing to do. I'm optimistic because I know that there's people who care. I know there's people who care about this work. I know there's people who are seeking understanding to want to know more about this work. So we have opportunities for them to learn, grow, and thrive as well too. For them to say, okay, I get it, I understand it. Now how can I implement it, right? So I'm gonna be optimistic because I care about doing the work, and that's what matters most to me.
And the work is critically important.
Absolutely, it's very important because it's not going away. It may be attacked from many different angles, but it'll still be there. There'll still be people who need help. If we want to see our society grow and flourish, we need to make sure we're not leaving people behind because they are contributors to our economy, contributors to our workforces.
DEI facilitator and diversity manager, Corey Holloway. We hope you're enjoying the Christmas weekend and the days leading up to New Year's, and we have some great ideas for events that could let you enjoy the season a little bit more, thanks to Visit Quad Cities.
Check out the things to do this week in the Quad Cities. Start off with the Christmas Eve Bash on December 23rd at the Mississippi River Distilling Company in downtown Davenport. Next, watch A Magic Cirque Christmas on December 23rd at the Adler Theater. Then you can watch some Christmas light displays at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds on December 26th. Then you can get your Taylor Swift on at the Eras Night at Vibrant Arena at the Mark on December 27th. Finally, listen to the Endgame at the Rhythm City Casino Resort on December 29th. For more events like these, check out our events calendar at visitquadcities.com.
Ask anyone. FAFSA was a disaster last year. The free application for federal student aid is a lifeline for millions of students and their parents. Last year's rollout of a streamlined process had good intentions, but bad execution by the Department of Education. It resulted in a mess with students unsure of college plans and colleges making decisions very late in the process. This year appears to be different so far. We talked with Western Illinois University Quad Cities Associate Director of Admissions, Cassie Daly, about FAFSA and your preparation for the 2025-2026 school year. The President signed the new FAFSA Deadline Act to make sure that the ball got rolling this year. How important is it that the Department of Education gets FAFSA right this year?
Super important.
Yeah.
Last year was such a mess. It left all of us institutions kind of behind the eight ball, trying to play catch up. Students were starting school, they didn't have their award letters or their packages ready because everything was so delayed. Having it done early is a huge game changer because students can know sooner what they qualify for, what their costs are going to be, and then they can make those decisions sooner to be able to compare apples to apples. So it's huge. I think it's going to be a lot better for students this year to have that information early, and then also for institutions to be able to better leverage, what they have to offer.
Do you worry? And I want to talk about the future and the present, but let's talk about the past a little bit longer. There are so many obstacles to going to secondary schools, colleges, or trade schools. Do you worry that this was just one more thing that kept people, maybe some kids going, okay, I can't deal with this, I'm not going to go further my education?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's another hurdle. It was another barrier of, not only having to navigate where do I want to go to school and do I want to go on to school, but then, let's throw this other barrier in the way of not being able to get the FAFSA done, or if they did the FAFSA but then needed to make changes and it took so long for those changes to be made, that it was another layer of frustration that students need to have, especially first generation students that maybe didn't have a parent or a support person at home to help them navigate the whole system. So.
And how did it impact universities and colleges? I mean, take it from the other point of view, is that you guys were flying blind as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It was tough because, students would get maybe award letters, packages that said, we think you're going to qualify for this amount, but nobody wants to go on a maybe or make a decision on I think. So that it was a struggle. Students just needed to have that information sooner.
What are you suggesting to parents and students now this year when it comes? Let's start with FAFSA as well as other financial aid, but starting with the FAFSA form.
Doing it early. The good change that was made in FAFSA several years ago was they go off what's called prior year. So it used to be, yeah, the FAFSA would open up, but then you'd have to wait for you to get your tax returns done and that such of things. So it's good because now they go on 2 years prior, so you're looking at 2023 tax information that's already done, which you have in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And the FAFSA form has been shortened in terms of the number of questions they're asking, so it takes a lot less time to get through. I mean, I remember the first time I did it for my own son, I was like, wait, did I do something wrong? This only took like 15 minutes to get through. And you can also connect your tax information if you filed electronically to the FAFSA form. And so doing it early is even easier because it's not going to take as much time, but the earlier that it's done, the earlier that information gets out to schools, the earlier the schools can package those things and send out information about what a student qualifies for.
You could understand that some parents might have some trepidation because of last year. Yes. I mean, are you trying to tell people, okay, that was last year, this is this year? I mean, not that all the problems are gone, but the great majority are?
Yes. So letting them know that it's open early, get in, get your stuff done. So if there is any glitches, because they may happen. I mean, it's the federal government. Colleges don't have control over, what happens there. But the earlier that things are done, if there's changes that need to be made, then there's so much more time versus, last year we got cut out of about 3 or 4 months. Or more.
Critical months.
Critical months, yes.
Let's talk about the Western Way. Tell me, universities have to be creative in a way of getting students in the door, but also keeping them in the door. Correct. So help me out here.
So the Western Way was created as an initiative for Western to let students know that if they qualify for state federal aid and they also qualify for our merit-based either Western commitment or transfer commitment, but then there's still a gap of cost, tuition and direct fee cost gap that wasn't met, then it's Western's way of saying, hey, we're gonna come in and we're gonna fill that particular amount if you qualified for state and federal aid, if you qualify for the merit-based Western commitment or transfer commitment, and then your combined household income with 0 assets is $81,000 or less. So it's a way for Western to say, here's how we can help a little bit for families that are in that particular financial situation.
And how effective has it been?
It's been very effective. I think for a lot of our students, it's very beneficial for our transfer students because the gap is a little bit larger. Because the transfer commitment scholarship it's a great scholarship, but it's a little bit less than our freshman commitment scholarship. So there is a little bit more of a gap there for those that are transfer students. But it's been a great option for students that fall into that category and to have that extra little push to get them over the hump. So they're not having to borrow as much money, or for some students it is a complete game changer. So,
tell me also about the MAP grants. The state of Illinois has got far more of a commitment to such a critical grant money system that, as you remember, during those years where funding was suspended in so many different ways, that really impacted. Is it nice now that the MAP grant has got major investment by the state of Illinois?
It is nice, and that's another reason when you were asking what parents should need to know, is that's another reason why it's important for students that are in the state of Illinois to apply for FAFSA early, because MAP is great, but when MAP runs out, MAP runs out. So if you qualified for MAP, but you applied after MAP funds ran out, then you're not, even though you're eligible, you don't receive those because your FAFSA wasn't in on time.
Yeah, so I mean, it is critical to make the deadlines and be way ahead.
Yes, every state has different FAFSA deadlines. Now, federal Pell Grant, those federal grants, there's not a deadline for those, but a lot of states have state deadlines, and so it's important for no matter whether you're in Illinois or you're in Iowa or you're in Ohio, you need to know kind of what those state deadlines are, so you don't miss out on funds.
Western Illinois Quad Cities is known for non-traditional students and for veterans, actually the whole Western Illinois University system.
Yeah,
how important is it for them to look at Western as a possibility to further an education?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is cost. We have, a great education system. We have great classes. We have great majors, but we're also at a price point that non-traditional students are able to, make it affordable. There are scholarships that we offer for students coming in. If non-traditional students, they may have started at another college or university, may have stopped out for a while, are ready to come back and finish that degree. They could be, they could still be eligible for scholarships. Our admissions policies are very veteran friendly. They're very non-traditional student friendly. And so we've kind of made some steps towards that. Our veterans can apply for free. They can fill our admissions application for free. Our non-traditional students, we have a new admissions policy for students that if they, have never been to post-secondary education, maybe they graduated from high school, went into the workforce, and now they're ready to come back, and it's 10 years later, 20 years later, they can apply to Western. And we're not going to go back and look at high school performance in terms of GPA. We're going to look at, okay, you have been out of school for a number of years, you have been successful in the workforce, and yes, please, we'd like to admit you and let you get started on your degree.
Well, and falling admissions at schools such as Western is not new, but it seems to be stabilizing a bit right now, which is that the best we could hope for at this moment?
Yes, we're still on that enrollment cliff of 2025. So in terms of the birth years for students in that
Ergo,
that area,
the graduation years
yes,
of high school students.
Yeah, so now we are at that moment we were graduating larger classes because we had those larger classes coming in, but then what's coming up behind it that we're starting is the smaller classes. So we've got bigger classes going out, smaller classes coming in, but that ship is starting to right itself. It'll still be a couple more years though before it kind of fully stabilizes in terms of graduating in, graduating out. So.
But it still underlines, I know that you like to underline the fact that a college education is still so important to advance a career.
Correct. I think that a lot of, there's a lot of things that are important, whether, you go into the trade or you do some sort of post-secondary education training. But for a college degree, a lot of employers, they want a student to have that 4-year bachelor's degree. Sometimes it's that entry-level point of, especially when it's so competitive out there, to be able to walk in with a bachelor's degree, maybe have some specialized classes or some additional minors that went on with your bachelor's degree, so you can kind of have a diversify yourself in fields you can go into.
Our thanks to Western Illinois University Quad City's Associate Director of Admissions, Cassie Daly. And you can always get more information about Western Illinois University financial aid and admissions by going to the website, wiu.edu. Next week on The Cities, Democrats stay in control in Springfield, but Republican plans to raise their voices as a loyal opposition. We talk with Democratic Senator Mike Halpin and Republican House Minority Leader Tony McCombie as they prepare for the upcoming start of the legislative session. That's next week on The Cities. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.